What is a Nuzlocke? A Nuzlocke is essentially a Pokemon game type that makes it a little more difficult to play the game. Overall, well, it's super popular on YouTube and you'll see a lot of them, but I think it's still worthwhile to understand how they work in case you want to do it yourself. So I will go through the rules really quickly, really simple. It's just some people find it complicated, so I'm going to break it down as simple as I can. There's when does Nuzlocke start? Nuzlocke will start whenever you get your Pokeballs, whether it be from the professor or whoever gives them to you. If it's a ROM hack, typically it will be the professor who gives you Pokeballs. However, in the non-ROM hack games, the rules of a Nuzlocke are the standard rules, which are what you're going to pretty much use as a baseline, and then you can build off those with non-standard rules, which are obviously optional. The standard rules are going to be: you can only catch the first Pokemon in any route or any area. All Pokemon must be nicknamed. If a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead, and no Pokemon, no lock. I will be going over all of these kind of quickly in a second. The slides relegated to each of these things that need relegation. Then you have non-standards, which would be dupe, species, gender, type, and yours. Yours is pretty much anything you want to put in to add a little bit of your own personal flair in it, but I would suggest they don't contradict in any way the standard rules, since the standard rules are what need to be obeyed to make it an actual Nuzlocke. You may only catch the first Pokemon in an area. The example I gave was the Eevee on Route 3, which again, there's a lot of typos in here, I apologize for that. You can see right here that basically it just means long and short that if you find an Eevee, you faint the Eevee, or if you find the Eevee, you must catch the Eevee if it's your first encounter. If it's not your first encounter, then you can't catch it anyway. But if you faint or run from your first encounter, then you've officially lost the encounter. Now, you don't always have to catch the Eevee, as the example says, if one of these three things happens. Dupe, which means, say you found one on Eevee on Route 2, and you don't want another Eevee, then you can call dupes. Species would be the exact same thing, except if you found a Flareon on Route 2 and you don't want an Eevee, then you can call a species on that and re-encounter. Both dupes and species you re-encounter until you get something that's either not a duplicate or not in the same species as the Pokemon. And gender, which would essentially be, as you see right there, a male Eevee on Route 2, you find another male Eevee on Route 3, you don't want that male Eevee. Now this doesn't have to be on back-to-back routes, this could be any route that you run into it. Just I used 2 and 3 because it was easier to, just an easier way to explain it, I thought. All Pokemon must be nicknamed. This is essentially this is a standard rule, which is probably the least important, I'd say, of all the standard rules, but still I think it's just as important as it. I think it's important, but I'd say of all the standard rules, it's the one that I would contradict with my own rule if I had to. A gun to my head if I had to. All Pokemon must be nicknamed. This is the try to make you feel more of a bond towards your own Pokemon. This works for some people, doesn't work for some others, but still, it's nice to be a little more original than just having a non-named Pokemon. No Pokemon, no lock. Pretty self-explanatory. If all 6 of the Pokemon, assuming you have a full team of 6, are fainted, all 6 in your team, then you lose the lock. You have to restart your save file, like from the very beginning, or you just lose the lock entirely. Either way, you cannot continue a lock if all 6 Pokemon in your party are fainted. If a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead. Essentially, that's why you couldn't continue the lock in the last slide, is because your Pokemon are considered dead. If the Pokemon faints, you're going to either have to release it, which is the more typical and orthodox way of doing it. But then people also tend to go more towards the boxing of Pokemon, at least more recently. And if you do that, you need to make a designated box. Usually it's going to be what would be box 30. You're going to designate it as a death box or graveyard. And option 2 does give you a little bit more of an option. It makes the lock a little easier because you're able to resurrect them temporarily as zombie Pokemon, so to speak. So to get to use an HM or TM that no one in your party and no one in your the entirety of the rest of your boxes can use. If a Pokemon in your party or a Pokemon in your box, any of the other boxes can use it, then you may not use the zombie Pokemon. And if it's in your party, it cannot battle. And if you try to battle with it, well, if it's down to only the zombie Pokemon, then you've lost the lock because it's already dead. You can't resurrect it to fight. It's there as a HMTM slave.